What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So let's jump straight into it. I have to tell you a secret that you might have not wanted to hear, but it's the truth. Say goodbye to Y2K fashion and hello to 80s fashion. A lot of 80s fashion has been resurfacing in small ways, but definitely kind of evident ways. You see it either on the runway, on your favorite icon, on pop stars, on stars of any sort, on TikTok, on social media. You see it everywhere, to be honest. There's different types of styles that started in the 80s or were popular in the 80s, and now they're back. So today, I want to talk about some of those styles that I'm seeing all around me and see what you guys think, if you think that the 80s actually is coming back, or is it really that just Y2K is here to stay? I'm going to tell you guys about styles that I've seen recently come back up and how you can also incorporate them in your style. Let's start off with the styles that I've noticed on the comeback. Depending where you live, depending what type of media you consume, you may have seen these trends and you may have not seen these trends. And I'm not sure if I would even call it a trend, because just like any style or any fashion, there's subcultures, there's trends. Some people are following the subculture, some people are following the trend, and depending how you view it, whether you view the subculture as the trend or as the trend as the trend, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But basically, let's get into it. So these are some of the styles that are currently on the comeback. Jerry curls and mullets. I'm putting them into the same category just because it's a guy's hairstyle. The other day I went to the fair and I saw a bunch of mullets. Just guys are wearing mullets. I've seen high schoolers wear mullets with trucker hats, specifically the Bass Pro Shop hats. So mullets became popular in the 80s when different icons like John Stamos and David Hasselhoff stunted them in different TV shows and movies. Jerry curls, on the other hand, became a bit more popular through music, like through Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, along with Ice Cube. Later we would see Jerry curls on TV, like on Saved by the Bell, where Mario Lopez was Slater. Some more styles that you might have seen around are dress suits. So back in the 80s, dress suits became popular when women were trying to break into the workforce. They had somewhat natural makeup along with a bold, maybe red or fuchsia lip. They would have statement nails and statement jewelry pieces to make sure that they kept their feminine side, although they were wearing their dress suits. Dress suits were popular in different colors like pinks, browns, fuchsias, even patterned dress suits. The way I would describe this time of fashion in the workplace would be bold and powerful. Women really wanted to show that they were there and they were there to stay. Nowadays, you see dress suits, they're a bit more casual, whether it just be a blazer or some big A-line pants. The colors are still kind of the same. Unfortunately, like you see on fast fashion websites like Shein, they have those sets that's just like a plaid blazer with a plaid skirt. People wear dress suits even to brunches. Dress suits are a bit more kind of a dressy casual nowadays instead of a workplace look. Let's talk about neon. So neon might be one of the first things that you think about when you hear 80s style, but it's not coming back necessarily in the same way. Thank the Lord. Sometimes you see neon in different accessories such as handbags. People have used it a lot in their hair to make statement hair. Neon isn't as bright and as eye-catching as it was back in the day, although it's still bright and eye-catching because neon will never not be bright and eye-catching, but it's not in-your-face neon anymore. People are wearing neon more subtly. They'll wear it in like little accessories here and there, whether it be their makeup, their bags. Next up is crazy prints. So first of all, I have to make it clear that just like neon, crazy prints aren't as in your face as they were in the 80s. Nowadays, people use crazy prints as a background statement. They'll either wear it as only a skirt, only a top, only their shoes, only their bags, but it's not print as it used to be. I've seen a lot of animal print trench coats and animal print bags. Obviously it's not real fur, so don't worry. Kind of going along with animal prints, crazy prints in general. You've seen on social media a lot squiggly nails and like just different like psychedelic patterns. Those type of things were really big in the 80s. Prints, whether it be like flowers or squiggles or asymmetrical. So crazy prints along with animal prints are both coming back. So this brings me into my next point, cat suits. Not straight up cat suits are coming back in, but you know, versions of the cat suit. Just like a lot of these items, that exact version is not coming back into style, but inspirations of that version. So it's more like inspirations of the 80s are really taking over today. Getting back into neon, you'll see neon more as the accessory instead of the statement. That's kind of the same thing for cat suits. Back then, cat suits were really, really big in the sense of you would see them Like you would see that person is wearing a catsuit right now. Nowadays you'll see catsuits more underneath either a big trench coat or a big coat. Well, the coat will more be the statement piece than the catsuit slash romper. The next style that we have on the comeback is probably one of the most prominent styles we see, which is the cozy look. So the cozy look has a lot to do with just wearing basically something cozy, whether it be an oversized sweater or loose fitted jeans or bike shorts. The 80s did it a bit different. The 80s made sure that even though you were cozy, you might be lounging around the house, you still looked really good by wearing bright colored sweater or a sweater with a bunch of designs on it, still putting up your hair, still doing some makeup, still having accessories on, depending on your age as well. Even though some of these things sound kind of insane, like crazy prints, animal prints, neon, doesn't mean that they're really in your face. That's another reason why I'm saying that the 80s isn't really in your face coming back. It's not, again, people aren't wearing leg warmers outside or to the gym. People are more wearing just things that became popular in the 80s or were inspired by the 80s. So next thing we're going to talk about is 80s icons. So you might have seen a lot of these icons kind of reemerging, like Johnny Depp and Princess Diana. And the reason for that is their fashion influence. There were staple icons like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, Boy George, George Michael, John Stamos, Lionel Richie, Princess Diana, Mario Lopez. Probably one of the most famous 80s icons is Molly Ringwald, which her style is kind of hard to pinpoint because there's not really a name for her style. It's kind of like a high school cozy preppy, not really, like it's prom night every day. I don't know, I don't really know how to describe her style. So the reemergence of the 80s, we're noticing a lot in social media, different influencers. You see it a lot on TikTok, Instagram, styling videos. If you pay close attention to those styling videos, you definitely see the 80s influence in them. I've seen a lot of pleather slash leather in the styling videos, the straight-legged jeans, a lot in street style. You also see the reemergence on the runway. This is where you're gonna see a lot of the neon eye colors and crazy hairs. Oh, if I didn't mention that before, something else that's coming back is just statement hair. So let's backtrack a bit. Statement hair is definitely coming back. Not like the 80s though. We're not all getting perms, but if you haven't seen it, you're definitely gonna notice it now after I tell you. People are dyeing their hair crazy colors, doing crazy patterns in their hair, just having statement hair of one sort or the other. Statement hair is now big for guys and girls. Back then, it was mostly a girl's thing just to have big, big hair. Guys would have their mullets, their jerry curls, or their regular hairstyles. But nowadays, everyone is doing something to their hair. Someplace I really see 80s influence now is in music videos. Especially in Latin music videos, there's a lot of neon colors. Music videos have that film look. And this has been going on for a while. I wouldn't say that this just started happening. Another place that you see the 80s reemerging is people watching a lot of 80s shows. Shows like The Cosby Show, A Different World, Full House, Seinfeld, The Golden Girls. These are all shows that are becoming popular again. I think part of the reason that 80s shows are coming back is because the nostalgia. A lot of people, you know, staying in the house, being all cozy, they just want to be nice and nostalgic. A lot of millennials and Gen Zers are wearing 80s clothing because it feels like almost like a nostalgic time. Even though they didn't live it, it feels like that nostalgia you didn't have. So kind of coming back to shows, I feel like watching those 80s shows definitely makes you feel like you're back in the 80s. Watching those 80s movies makes you feel like you're back in that time because you're kind of like, you know, you live through a movie, you feel the experience. So people watch those shows and then they interpret it into their life. So real quick, before we keep going, I wanted to note something. Not all of these trends and fashion statements started in the 80s, but they were popular in the 80s. Some of them started in the 70s and some of them even went on all the way to the 90s. I'm not gonna lie, until I started learning more about the 80s, I didn't realize how many things nowadays are really from the 80s. So let me give you some tips on where you can look for inspiration. Inspiration can come from absolutely anything you want, whether it be bands, magazines, TV shows, icons, celebrities. Even your parents can give you inspiration for what was up in the 80s because they probably lived through it. People look for inspiration whether it be on social medias like Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok. So think about what was media back then. So a lot of people were looking at magazines or they were watching TV. The style didn't travel as fast as it does now. My biggest recommendation would be to look at 80s photos, look at 80s artists. If there's a specific type of genre or subculture you like, look into that. You could look into hip hop fashion, punk fashion, the preppy fashion, cozy fashion. So yeah, just think about what was social media in the 80s. Social media was TV. Social media was magazines. Social media was calling your aunt that lives in the city and figuring out what's going on there. So last thing I want to talk about is some of the parallels that are definitely coming back from the 80s into today's world. You've already heard all these words. I'm gonna just start off genre by genre, subculture by subculture. So the first one on the list is the comfort/cozy style. Like I mentioned before, the comfort cozy style, people back then still made sure that they looked pretty even if they were lounging around in the house all day, by wearing sweaters, bike shorts, vibrant sweaters. Their nails would be done, their hair would be done, their hair would be up. Anything that looked good but still was cozy would be the comfort cozy style from back then. Comfort cozy, again, definitely one of the styles you see the most of right now. Bike shorts, oversized sweaters, especially now that we're getting into fall, oversized straight-legged jeans with a sweater, just very basic pieces nowadays. So next thing I'm going to talk about is the workplace look. These workplace looks aren't really being worn in the workplace. Dress suits are more casual nowadays. A lot of blazers, a lot of dress pants being mixed and matched with casual everyday to day wear. When women were at the workplace, they tended to make sure that their nails were on point and their makeup was on point, even though it might be natural. Culture today, it's a lot of more of a natural look depending what style you're following. Nails are definitely something that re-emerged. Nails back then were commonly done since women were in the workplace and they were working behind a desk. And nowadays you see girls making sure that their nails are on point 24/7. Whether they get acrylics, whether they paint them, whether they get gels done. We talk all about nails all day. Whether they get dip. Nails is a big thing then, and it was a big thing now. Jewelry would be another thing that was big while women were in the workplace. Women now aren't the only people wearing jewelry. Both men and women have started to wear jewelry. The parallel that I see to jewelry is in the 80s, everything made a statement. Whether you had big earrings or a big necklace or a big ring. Nowadays, it's actually kind of the opposite. You see dainty pieces, but you see a lot of it. Stacked jewelry. Punk was a subculture of the 80s, and I wouldn't say that it's, you know, a style now. Punk may never be a mainstream style. Different elements of punk definitely have come into the mainstream, such as stacking your jewelry, making your own clothes, which is a big thing. You see different people going to thrift stores and making their own outfits, deconstructing outfits, creating something new. And this is where you're seeing some of the crazy, outrageous hair. Back then, punks would shave their head, they would create mohawks, they would dye their hair different colors. I love the punk look. It's my favorite look, honestly. Punk was all about going against the establishment, which I feel like is something definitely that people are trying to note today. You know, go against what society says and do what you want and do what you love. Another parallel in today's fashion is the pop/Madonna look. Madonna would wear lacy tops, and if you've noticed, there's the cottagecore/fairycore looks that have lacy tops. Even people wearing slip dresses as a normal dress, or lingerie as normal everyday to day wear. This kind of goes also with punk because again, it's going against the grain. Using mostly lace was definitely something that was done in the 80s and is being done again now. Like I mentioned so many times before, the preppy look is probably one of the looks that influences style the most today. So shows like The Cosby Show and movies like Making the Grade would showcase what it's like to live in a higher society. We see the preppy look really mixed into street style and cozy looks today. And then last but definitely not least, a style that we see parallels today is hip-hop style. Hip-hop actually became more popular and relevant in the 80s. Hip-hop introduced different things like sneaker culture, men wearing jewelry, bomber jackets, Jerry curl, fades, even high tops. You see some people still try to rock high tops. 80s hip-hop on today's fashion definitely has a major influence. One thing you notice a lot with 80s hip-hop is they would mix a bunch of silhouettes. So women would wear cat suits or aerobic wear with big bomber jackets. One of hip-hop's biggest influences from the 80s was sneaker culture. So it all started back in the mid to late 80s when sports, television shows, and different hip-hop artists popularized shoes. Shoes like the Jordan 1, Reebok Freestyle, and Nike Cortez were popular back then. Different media figures like athletes such as Michael Jordan, TV shows like A Different World would show these shoes and even decades later make them popular. So yeah, Y2K fashion's pretty dead and the 80s is making its comeback. So you better be ready. Well, that's pretty much it for the video, you guys. Let me know if you see any of these 80s fashions or anything else in your day-to-day life. Even if it's on your feed on Instagram or even at school or at work. Comment down below what 80s style you see being influenced in today's fashion. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with somebody. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!